I'm here with Dexter in Chipman and Brunswick. We're on the Stephenson Road and we're getting ready to do some leveling to get ready for some chip seal. So what we're doing right now is we have an intersection and we're just getting the intersection tidied up. We had some loose edges that we just patched with the small cat paver. Right now we have a catch basin in the middle of the intersection where the asphalt has delaminated, so we've just dumped a little bit of the material out of the paver using the augers, and we're just going to do a little bit of handwork around this catch basin right now. Most of this work is just shovel and rake work. Once we get it, once we get everything in place the way we want it, we're going to give it a quick roll, and then we'll be able to start off down the Stephenson Road and be able to do a little bit of leveling. So we'll try to give you an idea what this leveling is like. We're using live bottom trailers today. They're definitely very good at unloading the material, so we don't need to get any more than we need at any given time in the hopper. So the live bottoms are good. It's a lot easier than a tandem truck or a dump trailer. This is the Dexter N.R.B crew from St. John to Brunswick, so they've come up from St. John, probably just over an hour's drive to be here today. So the handwork around the catch basin continues. We're using a small roller to do breakdown here today. It's a little cat, CB24. We have a larger Combi roller here with the rubber tires on the rear and a drum on the front once we get into the main lanes, and we'll be able to get these areas that we're leveling rolled up pretty good with these two machines. level up a piece here. So what we're doing here is we're actually going down the center of the road. So we've broken the screed, and the screed's going to pave at 2 different angles, and we're going to try to put a crown back in a little short piece of road that has no crown. So in other words, it's flat, or the center of the road has gone out of shape and is lower than the outside, so it would actually pool water. If we get close enough to have a look here, you'll see that this piece of road has alligator crack. So we've had a subgrade failure. Now Ernie's going ahead with the shovel, and he's just grabbing a little bit of asphalt from inside the paver and just dropping it in a couple of the potholes there before we pave over it. So the truck's going to back in here momentarily, and he's going to fill up the hopper. And once he gets the hopper filled up, we're going to drop the screed here, and we're going to get going. We're dropping the screed right now. We'll move around here, and we'll film this from the rear. Starting here now. So the idea here is where we're just paving a strip down the center. The 2 outside edges, we pretty much want to be dragging the paver. We don't want any substantial change in elevation on the outsides. And so the asphalt's going to go on thicker in the center and thinner on the outsides, and that should put the crown back in the road. The guys will do a little bit of hand work with the rakes, and they'll take any of that excess off. There's the foreman there now, so he's just going to knock that excess off. The rollers will come along and they'll roll that, and so when we're finished, we should have a fairly uniform piece with a crown back in it. So in the winter or any other time of year when you get moisture on the road, it'll run off to the outsides. It won't lay there and freeze. So this strip is going to go all the way down to more or less where the front of the truck is right now. The particular area that we identified as having no crown, having some alligator cracking, and it actually has some bleeding also. That's the shiny that you see just ahead of the truck. You can see where the asphalt's shining, and that's an area where it was bleeding. So it was either too much emulsion last time they chip sealed it, or the rock was stripped off. blending the edges in with the rake. Make sure there's a nice transition between the new patch and the existing chip seal. The rollers will complete that pinching down on each edge once they get on it. They'll pinch it down even better than what he's doing it with the rake. Some places the screed will be tight enough that we won't have to do any handwork. Other places the screed's going to be up a little bit, and they'll have to do a little bit of handwork. It's all part of the job. So they're at a point right now where they think they have enough asphalt in the paver to finish the strip. So they're going to unhook the truck and let the truck pull ahead. He'll wait up ahead at the next patch, and then he'll be able to back into the paver again and load it. This patch ends just the dumper's up ahead of the paver with the shovel. It ends just ahead of him. So this first strip looks like it's gone down very well. So we've just stopped the feeder on the paver, and we're going to run the paver out until we run out of asphalt. The little breakdown roller's on the mat right now. He's giving it a vibratory pass or two over it. The areas, particularly right here where the roller's about to pass over, where you see the color's lighter and the stone is white, those are areas where we've been dragging the paver. So the nominal size of the stone in the mix was less than what the height of the paver was. So it tends to be drug as we pave it. It's quite typical to see that when you're doing leveling. So don't be alarmed if you see these light colored spots when you're leveling. The aim of leveling is to put it on fairly thin. Back here behind we have the Combi roller, and he's just going to sit back and wait for a little while for this little breakdown roller to get his job done, and then he'll move up onto the mat with his double drums, with his steel drum in the front rather, and his rubber tire in the rear. So we'll walk over here and get a closer look at the area where we drug, so you can see what to expect. This is the area here. This area was lower in the center, and the idea here was to correct the low center and put the crown back in it. We don't see a lot of drags in this area right here. Some other areas where we're just trying to correct the grade, we will see more areas where we drag. So as you can see, the Combi roller's making its way onto the mat now. So he has a steel drum in the front, and he's got rubber tires in the rear. The steel drum rollers, when they're vibrating, they're very efficient at compacting the asphalt from the bottom towards the top. But because of their vibratory action, they don't do a good job of compacting the surface, that last little bit of area on the surface. So where the rubber tires come in is they're more efficient at compacting from the surface towards the bottom, but they're unable to, because they're not vibratory, they're unable to compact towards the base. But what they do is they'll pull the surface together and help to compact the surface. So in combination between the steel and the rubber tires, you should get the vast majority of your compaction. The rubber tire will close the surface in and seal the surface better. So when you do chip seal over it, that the patch doesn't soak up a lot of the emulsion when you spray it. So he's rolling it in such a way that he doesn't flatten the crown out that we put in it. So he's not rolling down the middle of the patch. Just a rear view of the screed here as he pulls away. You can see that we've broken the screed on the paver, and it actually has a crown built into it. If you look below the walking boards, you'll see that it's not straight. So that's what we call breaking the screed, and that's what you have to do when you're leveling. You have to break the screed to be able to put the crown back in and go with the nuances of the road. So each outside edge is lower than the center when you break the screed. And you'll see the orange spray paint in the center of the walking boards, and that's more or less where the screed gets broke. And if you look carefully, you'll see that underneath the walking boards, you'll see that it's lower on each side than it is in the center. So that's what we mean by breaking the screed, and that's necessary when you do this leveling. So right here we're padding a cross culvert. There's just going to be a short strip. We've just come up through the center and we've corrected a crown, and we've let it run out over top of this culvert which had a heave in it. So we're just going to set the paver up, and we're just going to make a quick repair here to both sides of this culvert. It's just going to be a short strip, about 10 meters. Set up to do the left side. Once we have it done, a little bit of rolling done on it, we'll switch over to the left side. We'll pad it up, take the wump out of the cross culvert, and we'll move on to the next section. You do have to correct these cross culverts for the bumps. When we chip seal these, we'd like these to last a minimum of 10 years, more if we can. So he'll stop the feeder here soon, and we'll just run it out until there's nothing coming through the screed. Rather than stop, if we stop and lift up the screed, we'll end up with a whole bunch of piles of asphalt. You'll see there's a little drag mark right here behind the paver right now. It's either a piece of oversize. We'll get the guys just to shovel a little bit of asphalt into that. It actually looks like a piece of oversize may have drug, or we may have run out of material briefly there. We'll fix that with a little bit of loose material before we roll it. Another cross culvert here. We're padding another cross culvert. So we're going to be doing both sides. So in this particular situation, we left the center up, so we didn't tow the center out or try to zero it out at nothing. So we've got the center here is about 1.5 inches high. Because we're doing both sides, we can leave. We're not concerned with the broken screed and being able to keep that center down low. We're going to match it up. We're going to match it up the same height on both sides for the same length. So we're not concerned with it, so we left it up. We needed to get a certain amount of material up over this heaves anyways to take the wump out of it. And keeping it up for 1 inch, 1.5 inches is what we needed to do it. Up here we've just let the paver, we've just let the paver run out. And that'll be a fairly smooth transition coming off of that. Here at this end, we just started with the paver basically towed right out. And as we started to move, we cranked it up until we had about our inch or inch and a half in height, which you can probably see here in the center. So we just done that. We're going to back up. Roller will be coming up behind me when I get out of his way, and we'll back up here. We'll match this up. We'll be done with it. There's the roller coming. I'm going to get out of the way. So here we're just correcting some problems in one lane, so we're only going to do one side of the road here. If you look up the left side's in pretty good shape. The right side had some cracking along the right edge, and it was out of shape a little bit up underneath the paver. So we're going to pull about a 30-40 meter strip up here on the right lane and see if we can correct some of the problems on it. We're running the screed quite tight in the center, so we don't want it to be up higher. We're not matching the left side. We're just going to stick to the right side. So we got the screed set, so it's going to be quite tight on the left-hand side. The right-hand side is fairly tight too, but not as tight. It's not as critical on the shoulder side. There's a little spot there where we missed a little bit of asphalt, and foreman's just adding a little bit. The rollers are behind me, and once we get about halfway up this strip, they'll start up and get going. As you can see where we started out here, you can see the texture of the asphalt's a little bit rough. These are in the areas, you'll see this rough texture anywhere that we're what you'd call dragging. So the thickness of the asphalt isn't at least 2 times the diameter of the stone, so what it tends to do is it tends to come off with a rough texture. So we're starting off with the screed set at 0, and then we're cranking it up as we go. So once we get up here about 2 or 3 meters, and the texture starts to smooth out and get a little bit more consistent. And those are areas where we're putting down probably, well, I'm thinking probably 1 inch to 2 inches of asphalt in those areas where it smooths out. So anywhere that you're dragging, you're going to see this rough texture. You're going to see it on the outsides, on the high spots, and anywhere that you start and stop. So there's nothing to be alarmed about. It's the nature of this type of work. So right here we're fixing a broken edge. We're only running one side of the paver, and we don't have the screed out full width right here. And if you look to the right, you'll see that we're actually not paving full width. We stopped right here. We got a wide load coming through, and once this wide load gets by, we're going to resume what we're doing. The slats on the left-hand side of the paver, the slats on the right-hand side, we're not running those, so we're not feeding the high side. That's why you don't see the asphalt coming out full width. The rakers are, he's cleaning his rake right now, but we're feathering out that edge to make a nice, smooth, seamless transition into the existing chip seal. This tattered and broken edge goes up at least another 25 or 30 meters here on the left-hand side. Once we have it tidied up, we'll tow out the paver, and we'll let that run out. So as we look back, we'll see the Combi rollers coming up into the area that the breakdown rollers already got. These two rollers, they know how to work together. They watch what each other are doing, and to maximize their efficiency, they'll be passing on the mats like you see them doing. And we finish this strip and run it out. Just do a quick little bit of handwork there, and then we'll be off to the next section. So we're just getting ready here to match up a strip on the left side. So we've already done the right. We've kept the center up an inch and a half, so we're going to match that in. We just got the paver loaded, and we're pulling away. So we'll go flush here in the center. We'll toe it out as best we can here on the outside without leaving the outside too high. As you can see, if you look carefully there, you'll see that the screed has been broke, and we're paving at two different grades. I just want to point out here behind us that we patched some potholes coming through. You'll see them here in front of the Combi roller. Normally the maintenance crews look after these, but the maintenance crews looks like they did some patching very early in the spring, and these potholes developed after that point. So although it's not really part of the contract, we ask the contractors to patch those potholes as we go through, and that's what they did for us here. See here, it wasn't very thick in the center, and you can see here in the center of the road there that it's gray and it's dragging. You can see the texture is different than it is elsewhere up here a little bit further ahead on the mat where it's going on thicker. So again, that's fairly typical to see different textures on the mat when you're dragging in some places and you're putting on an inch plus in other places. The center joint is relatively flush. It has to be a little bit higher than the previous mat because we need a little bit of room for compaction. So typically it might be a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch higher. And then once we get it compacted, the two lifts should be flush with one another. So we're moving up here. We're getting up here towards the end of the patch. And there'll be a point here where we get towards the end of it where they'll stop the augers and they'll stop the slats and they won't feed anymore, and we'll just run it out to nothing. That'll give us a nice smooth transmission on and off of this mat. So these more porous areas that you see, there's one here that I'm looking at right now. These areas that are a little bit more porous, these are the reason why we like to wait 7 days before we chip seal over top of these. These areas will take a lot of liquid. They will soak a lot of liquid in. So what you find is that they won't hold as much of the stone down. So if the traffic's allowed to run on these for up to 7 days, so that area that we're looking at right here will close up a lot more. So when we spray it with the emulsion, a lot of it won't disappear into the asphalt. Up here in the other areas where the texture is smoother, it's not so much of an issue, particularly with the paver. But when you use a grader, you'll lose a lot of asphalt, emulsified asphalt rather, into these more porous areas. So if we allow the traffic on them for a week or so, they'll tend to smooth up the surface and heal it somewhat, and it won't take as much emulsion. So we're up here to the end, and we've turned off the feeders, and we're just going to run this out until we run out of asphalt underneath the screen. So here we're paving about 2/3 of the road, and where the center of the road would be, this is where we broke the screed. I'll zoom in a little bit on it. and you'll see that where the center of the road is, and we've broken the screed there, so that we'll have the road crowned in the proper way. So on the outside left edge, we should try to stay probably around an inch and not too much more than an inch or 2.5 centimeters above the existing shoulder. If you get too much more than that, then the road's almost going to require some shouldering. Now once we chip seal over this and we get the whip of chips that comes off the chip seal surface, you know, we're going to get a little bit of free shoulder material over there. But if we start leaving the outside edge 1 inch and more drop off, we're going to have a right wheel drop off situation that's probably not going to be good for the traffic. So we've taken a rake here and we've feathered out the edge out here, the right edge, and the left edge we've tried to keep it to around an inch and maximum 1.5 inches drop off there. The less you have, the better. Coming up on the vibratory pass to pinch that edge down. The asphalt here today has been running on average around 135 degrees Celsius, so we've got lots of good temperature for this hot mix in this particular situation. So we've got plenty of heat, so that's going to activate the chip seal that's below those temperatures, and we're going to get a good bond. So therefore we wouldn't be tacking this surface. We would be getting a good bond. Simply the fact that the temperature of the asphalt is going to activate the chip seal and blend the two together. Getting down to the end of a strip, so we've turned the feeder off and we're going to feather out this end of the asphalt.